Welcome to Hello Candy, a show created to sweeten up your daily lives with your host, Candace Tolman.
Hey you guys, welcome back. For our Something Interesting segment this week, we're going to be chatting to Hollywood costume designer Susan Matheson about what it's like to work in the industry that she works in, work with the people that she works with, and how she's dealing with the corona crisis. Now, just to give you guys an indication of what a legend this woman is, she has worked in movies such as The Big Short, Vice, Couples Retreat, Jack Reacher, Terminator Genesis, Anchorman, The Town, Blue Crush, and many more. I had to write them down because there's so many. Check out her IMDb page if you want to know more about Susan Matheson, but all I can tell you is that she's a downright legend. She's my unofficial godmom, role model, and I can't wait to chat with her.
Susan Matheson, our wardrobe person, is just this ball of energy. She's just obsessive, and she got so detailed.
The biggest challenge was capturing the essence of the original people that the book was based on. The real Michael doesn't like to feel the clothing on his body. He really likes things to be loose because he finds it really quite distracting. So he just wore t-shirts, a pair of Patagonia shorts, and a pair of Birkenstock sandals.
That's a nice shirt. Do they make it for men?
Susan did a terrific job with the wardrobe, sort of making it feel natural, but also tapping in a little bit to the sense of humor that the film has as well. When I came out of the trailer for the first time as that character, Steve Carell looked at me and went, "Do it for this and then never do it again."
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hi, Candy. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you so much for giving us your special time.
I'm so great to be here on Zoom. I've never Zoomed this much in my life since we've been on lockdown.
All right, it's a whole new world. Where are you situated right now?
I'm in Los Angeles in the Hollywood Hills with lots of coyotes and not too many people.
Love it. So we have not got that much time and I have a lot of questions for you. So I think we should just get started right away. Are you ready?
Great.
Okay.
Take it away.
Awesome. So the first question for you is, why did you get into this line of work and how did you approach the naysayers that warned you against it?
Well, I was always interested in design. I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa. And even when I was a little girl, I remember watching the Carol Burnett show. And Carol Burnett always wore these incredible gowns and people would always ask her, "Who made your gowns?" And she would say, "Bob Mackie." So I always wanted to work for Bob Mackie. And he designed gowns for Cher and lots of celebrities at the time. So when I applied to design school, after college, I went to Vassar College in upstate New York, and I studied art history and drama and sculpture. I ended up going to get a second degree from Parsons School of Design. That's a pretty famous fashion school in America. And I decided that I wanted to study at their school in Los Angeles. They had a school in Paris and they had a campus in New York. And they also had a campus in Los Angeles. And part of the reason I wanted to study in LA was because Bob Mackie was one of their mentors. And I thought this would give me an opportunity to work with Bob.
Right.
And ultimately it did. And I won a silver thimble from Bob for design.
No way.
And I'm actually in touch with Bob to this day. I saw him at an awards show for the Costume Designers Guild a couple months back. So it's kind of incredible that this person that I had watched as a little girl when I was probably about 10, 11, 12 years old is someone that I still look up to.
It really is like a dream come true story. That's like
it truly is. So what was the second part of your question?
The naysayers. How did you approach the people that warned you against the film industry?
You know, the thing is, there's always going to be naysayers in life. There's always going to be negative people that you encounter. And the thing that I want to tell people is you have to just believe in yourself. If there's something you want to do in life, you have to know that if you have the training and that you're intelligent and you have skills, you have to be like a bulldozer or like a dog with a bone. And you have to take that bone, or it's like a tug of war. Like, like when you take a rope and you're playing with the dog, and the dog just never wants to give up. You have to be that dog, and you have to never give up. And no matter how many people you come across, and trust me, there are going to be negative people who tell you you're never going to make it. There were people who told me, you're never going to make it. There were people who were actually close to me who told me, you're never going to make it. I had friends' parents who were very successful in the business who said, there are so many people in this business. Why are you even going to try this? And honestly, if I had known then what I know now, I might have been petrified to try this, because frankly, there are more actors than there are costume designers. So if I really thought about it, I would have realized that it was more difficult to become a successful costume designer than it was to become a famous actor. And I would have given up. But I didn't think about it. I was really just steadfast and direct and driven. And so along the way, I had this crazy experience. It was on my very first job, where I was an unpaid intern because I couldn't even get a job getting paid $100 a day. I didn't know a single person in the movie industry. So the only way I could get in was by volunteering for free. And I remember I was eating an apple in the office, and the woman who was the costume designer told me, stop that crunching. It's driving me crazy. Get out of the office. And actually, she swore at me and said a 4-letter word. Get the F out of the office. So I went in the hallway and I burst into tears while I'm still eating this apple. And this guy walks by and he says to me, one day you're going to walk in the front door and you're going to be the designer. And I was literally thinking I was going to quit the business. This is it. I give up. I'm done. And one day I walked in the door and I was the designer. And I walked up to the same guy. And this is like a couple years later. And I went up to him and I said, Lee, you're not going to believe it. I'm the designer. Can you believe it? And he looked at me and I said, you told me one day I'm going to be the designer. And he said, I don't remember telling you that. And this is what I have to say. Sometimes people are going to say things to you that are going to have a huge impact on your life. And they're not going to remember that they said those things. But take those words of wisdom and run with them. And don't let one person's negativity, don't let that just terrible energy bring you down. Believe in yourself. Look for positive people. Find those people that are going to support you and love you and drive you, because I truly believe the difference between someone who is successful in this business and someone who is not is whether or not you give up. And whether you have to have talent, but whether or not you give up or whether or not you keep going.
With you having worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, can you share with us a few of your funniest memories with some of these people?
Well, I have been lucky and sometimes unlucky, but mostly lucky to work with people like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington, and the amazing Christian Bale.
Wow.
Really amazing.
Those are like one of the best names.
What?
I said, what a name drop. Those are like some of the best names.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I hate to drop names.
No, if
but
you
I have
want
to
to
do
drop
it.
them, that's insane.
I mean, I have some crazy stories. Like, I remember being on Jack Reacher, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I felt these arms come around me and start hugging me because I was freezing cold. And I was like, who the hell is hugging me right now? And it's so wonderful. And it was Tom Cruise. Yeah. You know, he can be really loving. And it was just one of these great memories. You know, Christian Bale, I was really intimidated by him at first because, you know, he is famous for being a chameleon, from being incredibly thin on The Machinist to a total transformation on the movie Vice,
Yes.
where he played Dick Cheney, and that's the movie I did with him. And I also did the movie The Big Short with him, which was the collapse of the mortgage banks in 2008. So I did 2 movies with Christian, and I really did get to know him really, really well. And I would work with him again in a second. And, you know, I shouldn't say this, but he is one of my absolute favorite people I've ever worked with now. But there are many others as well. But Christian, I was honestly really intimidated by it because he has such an incredible body of work, from Batman to American Psycho. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And, you know, he was a child actor. I don't know if people remember this. I think it was Empire of the Sun. I hope I'm right about that. So, and I don't know if people know this, but Gloria Steinem was his stepmother. So it's unbelievable, his background. And I was intimidated because he's an incredible actor and he's just done such incredible body morphing. I mean, his commitment to acting is extraordinary. So when I first met him, I could almost not talk to him. And trust me, I'm not a person who is ever at a loss for words.
I know, Susan.
I've known Candy's mother since we were 3 years old in nursery school. So that's the connection with Candy. I probably shouldn't have told you guys, but but I'm letting the cat out of the bag, okay? Is that okay, Candy?
Oh, good. I mentioned that you're my unofficial godmom.
Okay.
I name dropped.
Okay, so let it out. There you go, guys. Inside scoop on Candy Tolman. But I really believe in Candy, so she's another person that I believe in. So Christian Bale. So I met him and I was so terrified. The first movie, The Big Short.
What a movie.
Everybody told me, what?
What a movie. You know what I mean? What an actor.
Yeah, an amazing movie. And it was nominated ultimately for Best Picture, and it won Best Screenplay for Academy Awards, many Academy Awards. And the whole movie, everybody told me it was lovely, but I was scared to talk to him. And I put him on all these T-shirts and things that were exact replicas of the real person that he was based on, Murray was the last name of the actual person that it was based on. And I'm terrible with names, so if I get it wrong, just forgive me. But I spoke to the real person and I got exact replicas of everything he wore, because the real person had Asperger's and was a genius. And I wanted every detail to be right, including the tie that he bought when he walked into the most important meeting that he ever had. And so I got the actual tie from him that he wore. And I was terrified of Christian the whole movie. So then by the time we did Vice, I realized that I was being silly. And Christian completely transformed. He was supposed to put on about 10 pounds, then 15 pounds. And ultimately, who knows how much he actually put on. But he put on a lot more, because I built him a fat suit. And I built these custom suits to fit over the fat suit. And Christian put on so much weight, then he started popping out of these suits. And I had him corseted in the early part of the movie Vice, where he was supposed to be thin. Then that was like the 1950s and 60s. And in the middle part of the movie, he's uncorseted. And you actually see his belly at one point in his boxer shorts. And then in the latter part of the movie, he's got his belly with fat pads and prosthetics over his face. And it's a complete and utter transformation. And he's unrecognizable. And I really got to know Christian and would speak to him. And the thing is, Christian's completely approachable. There are a lot of method actors like Denzel Washington who are so in their characters that you really shouldn't speak to them because they're in character. But Christian is totally approachable. So he walked by me dressed as Dick Cheney, covered in prosthetics, and I would barely recognize him. I wouldn't recognize him at all because I would forget that it was Christian, and it would be Dick Cheney walking by, and he would walk by and he'd go, "Hey, Susan, how are you?" And I would go, "Hey, like, who is this talking to me? It's Dick Cheney, the Vice President of the United States."
Right.
Anyway, it was just such a funny experience and an amazing experience.
That's amazing. Honestly, wow.
Yeah. So that's the magical part of my job. And every job is amazing, even from Talladega Nights, where I worked with Will Ferrell and Sacha Baron Cohen, who I love both of them. And
I had no idea that you were
and I was down in the pits during the Talladega race with headphones on because you couldn't hear anything. And I'm in the pits with the real cars coming in doing pit stops. And it was during Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish high holiday. And Sacha Baron Cohen is an Orthodox Jew. And people don't believe it, but he really is. And we went to synagogue, an Orthodox synagogue. And I'm sitting in the women's section and he's in the men's section. And then we go to the rabbi's house and we're separated. And we had to walk there, and it was so fascinating. And at one point I tried to buy him matzo ball soup from a Jewish deli, and he says to me, "That's a very nice offer, but you've got to call them and find out if it is kosher." This is not during Passover, this is another time. Find out if it's really kosher, and it wasn't, and he wouldn't eat it. And he was only eating canned kosher food the entire time, and he was so thin and losing weight. It was so fascinating. Working with him was incredible. In person, he is incredibly polite and such a lovely person, and yet he plays Borat. And so people kept saying, "Is he obnoxious in person?" And I'm like, "No, he is a total gentleman." So yeah, so it's so fascinating working with people and all these different subcultures.
Advice would you give to people that want to get into the film industry but don't have the connections?
Well, I didn't have any connections, so I'm the perfect person to ask. Coming from South Africa, I really knew nobody. And so this is my advice. Almost every city has a university or a college or even a community college or some kind of institution that has a film department. So what I did is, I knew nobody. I started calling. So don't be afraid to be pushy. Don't be fearful, even if you're a shy person. That's the thing. Sometimes fear is what can stop you as a person, and insecurity can stop you. So you just have to kind of do contrary action. That's what I love, that term, contrary action. Whatever your fear is stopping you from doing, do the exact opposite of what you would normally do. So if you're afraid to approach someone, force yourself to approach someone. So what I do is I will often just go for it. because I don't want to do that. So at the time, I called every single film school. And I was terrified to do this, I have to admit. And so I called the American Film Institute, which is pretty famous, known as AFI. It's a graduate school. I called the University of Southern California, which is USC. These are all schools in Los Angeles. And I called UCLA, which is the University of California, Los Angeles. And I called their undergraduate and their graduate schools. Just go for both. Just go for everything you can find. Just do everything. And here's my opinion. Don't be afraid of no. Just because someone says no doesn't mean that you can't get a yes. It just means you got to find someone else. Find another number. Find another email. Find a different person. Because you may be found the negative person. If you get a secretary, call the department head. If you get a department head who's negative, call a different professor, especially now with the internet. There wasn't internet when I was making these calls because I'm older than you. Find a different person in the department, call every person in the department. If they say we only use people who are in the program, and a lot of times now they are saying that, call someone else. Or look at the credits on one of their movies. Track down someone who worked on the movie. Be a detective. And that's what I did. So I called AFI, tracked down someone, and volunteered. People don't like to turn down free help. Volunteer on a weekend. If you have a job, volunteer. Starting out in any new business, a friend of mine gave me brilliant advice. She had an MBA and is a brilliant businesswoman. And this is the advice that I give people to this day. Realize that any new career takes 5 years. And I thought she was crazy, and she was completely accurate. The first year, you're really gonna work a couple times on anything that's new. And if you're really lucky, you're gonna work a lot more than that. And so what she meant is a couple times that are paid. So I volunteered, and I got paid for maybe 2 gigs, I think, doing music videos. I think I did a Tom Petty music video and maybe something for Jewel. And I think I did something for Ani DeFranco. And I got paid almost nothing. These were like 2-day little gigs. And then I volunteered on these student films. And what you need to know is there's a point to working on these student films, because everyone you're working with is going to grow up together with you. And all these people are going to get other jobs, and they're going to hire you. So they're going to remember you if you do a good job. And they're going to get paying gigs. And they're going to recommend you. So you're going to start to get paying gigs. And you're going to make great friendships, that these friendships will last forever. So now it's been over 20 years for me. And some of these people to this day are still some of my best friends. And they're still hiring me. So that's what you do.
And lastly, I have a final question for you, because I know you have to go and we are running out of time, is how has Corona affected your work?
Well, Corona/COVID-19, I was on an enormous movie at Netflix with Adam McKay directing.
Wow.
Jennifer Lawrence starring. You can look it up. It's they did release a press release for the movie. It's called Don't Look Up. So if you look it up on the internet, you'll find those press releases. And Adam McKay is the director that I've worked with the longest, starting with the movie Talladega Nights, and I did Step Brothers with him, and I also did Anchorman 2, and I've done a lot of movies. I did The Big Short and also Vice with him.
Right.
So Don't Look Up is an enormous movie. Sorry?
The two of you are a dream team.
Thank you. I love him. He's an amazing man, one of the smartest people I've ever met, an incredible writer, and a brilliant director. And working with him is a very unusual experience. He literally is also, not only does he write a brilliant script, but then he's kind of reworking it and writing as you shoot. So being on set with him is a gift, because the process of him thinking it through as the actors are acting and talking to them as they're acting and giving them new lines is an extraordinary process that for actors and the crew is highly unusual, and it really makes you want to stay on set all day, because it's like watching live theater. And the experience of working on Step Brothers was, for most of us, watching those scenes, the comedy of it was one of the funniest experiences of our lives. And I don't know if anyone saw Talladega Nights, but there's a scene where they have dinner and they're talking about baby Jesus. It's a pretty famous scene. We sat there on set with our jaws on the ground, practically crying with laughter. There were about 50 different versions of that scene. And it was so funny that we were having laughing fits. It was hysterical. And then in Step Brothers, there's a scene where John C. Reilly is jumping on the bed and the bed breaks. We were on set for that as well. And I almost fell over. So being on set with Adam, even on serious movies, is kind of a mind-blowing experience and a real gift to be able to work with him. So we were on a movie with Adam. We were 10 weeks away from shooting. We were about to leave Los Angeles and go to Boston. Adam was on a scout in Boston doing a tech scout. A tech scout is when they're looking at the locations and they're with the DP, and that's the cinematographer and the production designer. And we got a call that we were shutting down. So we shut down. And so we're on hold right now, waiting to find out when we're going to pick up again. And so we're waiting it out. And it's devastating, because we were ready to go and really, really excited. And I can't tell you who else is going to be in the movie, but it was amazing who's going to be in this movie.
Oh, what a nice.
And it was kind of mind-blowing who was going to do the movie. And it was a who's who of all my favorite actors.
Wow.
And kind of all my favorite crew. So it's an incredible movie. And we'll see. I'm excited for it to start up again. And so, yeah. So
look forward to after COVID-19.
Right. So I can't wait for, COVID-19 to work its course, but it's still been a really hard time and a lonely time. There are days that are happy and days that are sad, and days that I do too many jigsaw puzzles, and days with a lot of Zoom and talking to friends like everybody else. It's been great talking to you, Candy.
Oh, Susan, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much.
And great to meet everybody. Hope you've enjoyed this.
They're going to want Susan back. Thank you, Susan.
Anytime. If anyone has any questions, let Candy know. And I'm really happy to answer any questions at all.
That's okay.
All my love to everybody out there.